Hey YouTube, I'm Dylan, this is my first video. If you enjoy it, drop a like.
Welcome, Birmingham Car Restorations. I'm Dylan Walker, and this is my presentation on how to sustain an economic business model through future employment. I'll start by first stating what I know about your company and the assumptions I've made on the back of this. Since 2000, you have specialised in high-quality classic car restorations. You have 11 workshop staff, as detailed within the slide. There is no workshop manager. This is my first assumption. There are a number of staff employed within the sales delivery department and working stock and in the warehouse. This is my second assumption. There is an ageing demographic within the workshop, leaving some key skills at risk, as depicted in section 7, and this is my third assumption. The company has a fantastic pension scheme to allow for retirement after 20 years, therefore is such an appealing company to work for. This is my fourth assumption. I will now go on to discuss the objectives of the presentation. These are to define the management theories and suggest how implementation of their techniques into the organisation can improve job satisfaction, productivity and creativity. I'll compare organisational structures and suggest a suitable model, whilst defining the roles and responsibilities for the team members within this model. This will hopefully help highlight areas of risk. I will then go into detail the possible opportunities that have been presented with today. I will analyse these opportunities through areas of weakness through SWOT and PESTLE analysis. I will then conclude which suite of options will provide a better sustainability for the future years. The three management theories I'd like to discuss are Maslow's hierarchy of needs, McGregor's theory X and Y, Mintzberg's 5 minds of management. In 1943, Abraham Maslow released a theory of human motivation. Within this book details 5 levels of need depicted on this slide as a pyramid. It is constructed such way to suggest you cannot build on the next level if your physiological foundations are not satisfied. The bottom 4 are referred to as physiological needs. These consist of things like the need for air, food, water, safety, friendship and even self-esteem and recognition. The top level of the pyramid, denoted as self-actualization, is a growth need, and this is rarely satisfied without a manager. As self-actualization is a desire to be the best one can be, this relates to creativity, productivity and problem solving. An effective manager can fulfill this growth need and the top level physiological within recognition and self-esteem through the means of appraisal systems and feedback. This is further supported in the book 5 Minds of a Manager by Gosling and Mintzberg 2003, where it stated, "To manage it is to bring out the positive energy that exists naturally within people. Managing thus means inspiring and engaging." This is detailed within the section 2 Ways to Manage, based on collaboration. One takes little care of employees, where the other builds on employee skills. We can see these styles have evolved from Douglas McGregor's theory X and Y from the book The Human Side of Engineering 1960. Douglas McGregor was an American psychologist who stated there were 2 fundamental management styles. Theory X, who uses analytics heavily to increase productivity, and Theory Y, who gives employees freedom and creativity in a relaxed workplace. Employees of Theory X typically have a poor job satisfaction, and this causes a high turnaround of employees. They are typically more motivated, albeit this is down to fear. With Theory Y, employees are given responsibilities and trust. This can fall back if employees are unmotivated. However, Theory Y management and employees often share the same company values. Theory Y management is usually someone that's self-actualized, as they can get the best out of people and help their employees grow. Suggest promoting, where you have excess of resource rather than hiring external. This keeps values true to the company and lets your employees know that there's room to grow, so they're more likely to stay. Next, I will compare the different organisational structures and discuss the importance of a good structure, as a poorly structured organisation can have low motivation and morale, a lack of coordination, and more times than not, rising cost. With an effective structure, employees know who to report to, as well as their managers knowing which resources are being utilised at any one time. You can also feed information across the business easier with less misunderstanding. I will look at the matrix structure and traditional product structure. The matrix structure is often used when 2 dimensions are critical or when flexibility is required. They are very good for problem solving and decision making, as the 2 chains of command take the responsibility for making big decisions off the employee. Looking at the slide, the two chain of command sit with the discipline lead at the top and the project lead on the left hand side. This is often confusing for employees and would require promoting or hiring externally, and this would cost more. This would also spread the resources thin on the ground if you were not to hire externally. Traditional product structures avoid the disadvantage of confusing employees of two seniorities and arguably have more flexibility, but the self-reliance of the teams often means that output and timing depends on employee experience and commitment to other roles. These teams empower employees who show initiative and typically lead in their field. Although this comes with a backlash of the amount of meeting time, I would suggest this traditional product structure to be used within the business in order to inspire employees and get the best out of them. I will now go on to discuss the roles and responsibilities of the employees within the structure. As stated earlier, the promotion of one over resource repair technician to workshop manager, bearing in mind the previously discussed theories, will show the other employees that there's something to work towards. Their role as workshop manager would be to manage the staff, complete risk assessments as it's stated in the Management of Health and Safety to Legal Dispute 99. There are other legislation such as the Personal Protective Equipment at Work Regulation 1992 that require the issue of PPE. If this is not done, the company could be liable. Each employee is responsible for the wearing and upkeep of PPE once it's been provided. By using an organisational chart like this, we can see where the areas of risk lie. The areas of risk are paint and interior and final touches. This is because these have the fewest employees over a large amount of skills. This is where you would look to hire. The two approaches of mitigating this risk and hiring employees I will analyse are: 1. Enter into a partnership with a local college to train personnel in the skills which are in short supply. 2. Start an in-house training programme, recruiting young apprentices to be trained by existing staff. I will describe the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats of each approach, and use weighted pestle analysis to help come to a conclusion on which would provide a more sustainable business model. By entering into a partnership with a local college, you will not have to pay the wages whilst the employee is training. Additionally, the graduates will typically become more mature and qualified. However, this does come with a higher wage expectation. You also do not have to use resource that's already in short supply. Option does give the opportunity to build a relationship with a college for future training resource requirements. This is seen as a sustainable option, as colleges are typically around longer than most businesses. The major threat with this option, however, is the fact that the graduate may not be content with the role. This is down to influences from peers at college and differences with company values. By starting an in-house training program recruiting apprentices, you can ensure that company values are shared throughout. This is ensured down to the control of the selection criteria. This option also provides an immediate resource. However, the resource will be spread thin if the current employees have extra responsibilities to train those apprentices. This could lead to the company losing out on money and getting a bad reputation. Another threat highlighted here is the possibility of people joining the company to top up their pensions, as the Pensions Act 2008 states that a company must contribute to an employee's pension if that employee earns £520 a month or more. The government website states that the minimum wage is £8.72, and this would conclude to 13 hours working week, and this is not seen as an effective way to train. Pestle is a complementary tool to SWOT. It expands on the analysis by looking further at external factors which can have an impact on the decision being made. The term pestle refers to the domain it considers: political, economical, sociological, technological, environmental, and legal. For the basis of this analysis, these have been weighted by importance, which will help come to the conclusion once the analysis has been completed. The weighting can be seen on the slide. Option 1 politically is a good move, as building good relations with the college would prove beneficial and could even link to some council funding. However, option 2 guarantees government funding from the outset. Both options will help tackle local unemployment. However, option 2 may not be economically viable if the spread of resource causes loss of customers. On a sociological aspect, hiring youth has both positive and negative aspects with regards to experience and enthusiasm. However, The threat of the assessor in option 2 retiring at a young age would mean retraining another assessor, not seen to be viable. Option 2 does not provide much on a technological aspect, as there may be restricted use on the limited equipment in the workshop, whereas option 1 provides a connection to an equipment college, where further training can even be completed. Option 1 has the possibility of benefiting from a smaller carbon footprint, as the college is local. Additionally, option 2 would most likely cause more waste, as training apprentices does not come without mistakes. Both options will eventually require the issue of PPE and new employees to be inducted and trained. However, option 2 would require the creation of all new risk assessments anywhere the untrained worker will start to work. This analysis is concluded and the results shown at the bottom, which brings me to the conclusion. To conclude, I have 2 recommendations. Firstly, promote one of the other resource repair technicians into the workshop manager role to implement a theory-Y management approach. Candidates should be self-actualized as defined in Maslow's A Theory of Human Motivation. This will let the other employees know there is room to grow, so they will more likely stay at the company. Secondly, enter into a partnership with a local college appears to be the most beneficial, as attrition from the business does not require new employees yearly, and training an assessor just for them to leave does not seem sustainable. Additionally, the relations with college can lead to a sustainable source for future resource requirement.